Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I think there's two main methods of teaching someone. One is by example, and the other one is by reasoning, by engaging the brain and through explanation. If you look, for instance, at the animals in the wild, the deer will not stop and teach the fawn, you do this when you see that coming, you're gonna run or you're gonna hide. No, the deer, the doe, will run around and the fawn will follow. If the deer stops, the doe stops, the fawn stops. It learns by copying. The deer is not gonna tell the fawn. So that's one method. That's the animalic way. The animals by repetition, by showing. Going forth, coming back, going forth, coming back, and then the fawn will move and follow her. We humans, we have this, and we have this, okay? So we can communicate. So you explain to a child, hey child, if you jump off that window, you're gonna hit your head, you're gonna die because of the gravity and all that. You're gonna be like that. You can explain that person without showing the child by example, you know what I mean? Let me show you, but then you talk to mommy because I'll be gone for some time. Okay, but you explain that, explain to the child. Sometimes, I don't know if that happened to me, to you, but it happened to me, for instance, and I will share this with you. You have someone who is doing something that's not right, is doing wrong, and the other people do not realize that this person is not a good person or is a sneaky guy or something like that. And you try to explain, hey, you know what? This is what happened to me. Well, I don't. He seems to be a nice guy. Now, the best way to expose this guy here is not by trying to talk, use reason. Let them interact. And when they're going to interact, at one point, he will drop his mask and is going to fuck this guy up. Therefore, he's going to learn by direct experience. The same thing with in a relationship with wife or husband. We divorce or she divorced, and then you tell people, hey, I don't know, Michelle is a female dog. She's not a nice, she's this, is that. No, Michelle is just a nice guy, a nice person. Always she's nice and so on. Well, maybe something wrong with you. Maybe you did something. The best way to do it is that, okay, well, continue. Be friends with Michelle. And at one point, she's going to show you who she really is. And allow that to happen. Don't try to protect them. Oh, you don't believe me? Please go. And Michelle is going to fuck you up. So in this case, we have this little article. That's why I went around so long to expose Zelensky. People think Zelensky is a, strong guy, tough guy, courageous, all smart and all. The best way to figure out who that guy is, go and interact with him. And we had the African mission, I don't know if that's how it's called. Some leaders from Africa, they visited Kiev, and after Kiev they're going to go and visit Moscow to try to discuss a peace plan in Ukraine. And I like it because a lot of other countries tried. And they all went and they say, oh, how about this peace plan? Remember Lula da Silva of Brazil? He said that. Then Philippines said, how about this peace plan? Then Hungary said, well, maybe a peace plan, stop first fighting and so on. A lot of countries came and said, a peace plan. Aside from United States of America and the Western weasels, they can't say anything. So all these countries that came with a peace plan, the Vatican, the Pope said a peace plan. And when they spoke with Zelensky said, showed his face. And he said this, no, only my plan. And my plan is this, A, B, C, D, bye. Everybody was like, oh, so you're very flexible, I guess. But they take his inflexibility as determination. No. If you want to negotiate about certain things, it's give and take. It's not always take. Well, I think that he wants to take. But hey, as long as you have the support of NATO and the military support and all that, you can afford doing that. When they're gonna plug you off or unplug you, then you're gonna be like, that's it, and they take over and they're gonna negotiate with the evil Russians. That's what's gonna happen. So look what's happened here. This obviously comes from Russia Today and is from June 16, 2023. Zelensky offers zero flexibility to African leaders. Ukraine's leaders has again rejected the offer to mediate an end to the conflict. The same thing they did with the Chinese, with the Indians, with the Philippines, with the Vatican, with the Hungarians, with everybody. Why? With Brazil, because they want the only thing their way. And, well, that means you don't want to negotiate. Ukrainian, I hate when these guys say Ukrainian president. I would say President of Ukraine, that's how I would introduce this guy. Zelensky brushed off the African Union peace initiative on Friday, insisting there can be no negotiations with Russia. Then why did you bother to visit? I tell you why. Because all these guys here, they were invited to the show to visit this location, that location, so they say, oh, Russians bad, we good. The high-ranking delegation, led by South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, visited Kiev and is headed to Moscow next. And I'm quoting, "I said clearly and many times during our meeting today that allowing any talks with Russia while the occupiers are still on our land means freezing the conflict, the pain and the suffering," end quote, Zelensky said at a press conference afterward. According to Zelensky, Russia, and I'm quoting, deceived the world for years with the Minsk process and is trying to do so again. For peace to happen, he argued, and I'm quoting, Russian troops need to leave our entire independent territory. So you can move on and move in and kill all the Russians in the eastern territories. That's not going to happen. You tried to do this since 2015 until 2022. The Kiev, whomever was in charge over there. So I don't think they will allow that to happen. The Franco-German proposal Ukraine had agreed to in 2015, that's the Minsk agreements, was supposed to bring peace in the Donbass, but former German Chancellor Angela Merkel admitted last year, I made a video on it, that its true intent was to buy time for NATO to arm Ukraine. Weasels, don't trust them again. Nimals, never, never again. Former French President François Hollande has confirmed Merkel's account. Russian President Vladimir Putin reacted with disappointment, saying he believed for years that Berlin and Paris had been sincere. For a KGB agent and you're blah blah blah, you're pretty naive. I gotta tell you that. Very naive. And I said this before, and I will say it again. Zelensky also told reporters that Ukraine was greatly helping African nations with food security and setting up grain hubs on the continent with our partners, accusing Russia of using hunger and social instability as a tool of political pressure. The African leaders are not idiots and they know exactly who's behind you, my friend Zelensky. I guarantee you that. The grain Kiev exported under the terms of the Black Sea Initiative, however, has mostly gone to the EU and ended up as animal feed. Meanwhile, the UN has failed to unblock the export of Russian food and fertilizer to Africa, which used to account for a far greater share of the continent's needs. Remember, this is Russia Today. So obviously they're gonna make their point of view known. So the African Union mission got off to an inauspicious start in Warsaw, where Polish authorities held up Ramaphosa's security deal, while in Kiev on Friday the visitors were reportedly told to take shelter from incoming, and I'm quoting, Russian missiles. Ukrainian authorities later claimed to have shot down 6 Russian hypersonic rockets. And this, listen to this thing right here. There's obviously some deliberate misinformation, I'm quoting, being spread here, end quote, Ramaphosa's spokesman Vincent Magwenya said later told South African media, adding that the delegation didn't hear any explosions or see any out of the ordinary. So again, Zelensky has previously turned down the Vatican's offer to mediate a ceasefire as well, telling the papal envoy Cardinal Matteo Zuppi earlier this month that he would only accept the terms of his own Ukrainian peace formula, And this is the formula. The list of 10 demands includes Russia's withdrawal from the territories Kiev claims as its own, payment of reparations, war crime trials, and NATO membership for Ukraine. Moscow has dismissed it as delusional and said that any peace talks will be with Zelensky's masters, and quote, in the West rather than their puppet. All right, well, now we know. Always go to the source. Don't go to intermediaries. And it's the best to hear it from the person who then is going to be quoted as said this or said that, or some experts interpreting that person's intentions and so on. Experts usually have their own agenda because they work for someone, and that someone has an agenda and they get money from someone else, and that someone else makes money by doing business with someone else, and so on. That's how the circle of love goes. So the best thing to do is go and allow these guys to deal with that guy directly, and we'll see how intransigent that person is. Don't tell them, hey, that guy is intransigent. Let them be. Go and do business with them, and you're gonna find out. And I think that's exactly, if the African leaders had any doubt, I don't think they have any more. But that's my assessment of this. Even if Zelensky, let's say, is a fantastic guy, being fantastic guy will prove the guys that he's a fantastic guy, and he disprove what the other guys, bad people, say about him. So either way, the best way is to allow them to go over there and deal with the guy. The problem is people understand as much as they understand, and they might be fooled and continue to be fooled. Well, how is that? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on moi. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.